you know, maybe you haven't experienced a lot of hard things in regards to racism or sexism or LGBTQ issues in this country. Maybe you have, or maybe you haven't. But what I want to encourage is for all of us to be brave enough to do it, to talk about it, and to listen to each other. And hopefully we can all get better off than we were. So I'm going to try to approach this with humility, and I hope that you'll give me feedback. And I will listen to your feedback and be grateful for it. Okay, montage over with for the moment. Okay, so let's get down to the stuff that's in the actual class, yeah? So I'm gonna head over to, I'm gonna screen share. I have, you guys are all muted, but I think you guys can unmute. Yeah, you guys can unmute yourself if you want to. So feel free to chat or just throw out some questions. I have to turn on screen sharing for that to work. There we go. Okay. So here we are in Canvas. One of the things I want to just run through with you guys is to let you know that Canvas looks different for your teachers than it does for you guys. So generally speaking, I think the dashboard looks pretty much okay. When you arrive here, you sign in, you find your class, you click through. There's to-do lists over on the side. And then when you come to our class, the homepage has some of the recent announcements up at the top, and otherwise it's generally just the module page, yeah? So if you're looking for an announcement that's one of these mass emails that I send out, you're gonna see that I try to pre-write them so they come out nice and early. But you can look there under announcements for anything that you feel like you weren't sure what you wanna go back to. The other way to contact me that I recommend is to use the Canvas inbox. You can totally email me directly as well, but it will go to exactly the same place as if you use the Canvas inbox. Everything just forwards to my Gmail account. And the really nice thing about the Canvas inbox is that it will save it there for both of us in a threaded form. So like if you ask me a question and I respond with a link or something and you want to find it again, if you use the inbox, you know it's going to be there, which is nice. Okay, so here is, don't be scared. Here is the giant mess for our semester. Okay, don't be scared. Now I'm gonna turn on. So this is your Canvas menu. This menu over here for within the course, it can be toggled with that little stack of pancakes. It cracks me up that it's called a stack of pancakes, but that's apparently what the IT people call it. And the other thing that's nice to remember is that if you shrink the width of your page, stuff disappears and appears. So if there's something you can't find, it probably got scooched to the top or the bottom of the page. So like your in-class menu goes there to the center, and all the stuff that was on the right is down at the bottom of the page if your window is really narrow. It's all this stuff. So I'm gonna switch to student view so it looks like what you guys expect. Yar. And let's kind of check out. So if we were in a fall or spring semester, we would have 17 weeks together. And usually I set up these classes so that it's one module or one of these boxes for each week. So I'm trying to put a little number at the top of them here. And the first part, this first 0 in this case, is going to be the category. So we're starting with category A, and this category 0 is like the pre-registration orientation stuff. So it's not as much material, but mostly like, how do we take this class? And then the second digit here is going to be the module itself. So I'm doing that. You guys probably don't care as much, but I'm doing it because in the fall, I'm going to divide everything out even more. And so as I build it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, tangent. Okay, so this week we have a ton to do. And if you haven't taken a summer class before, just a reminder that it's fast as heck and there's way too much to cover. So normally in the fall, it's 3 hours a week of lecture plus another couple of hours for you guys to review, do homework, stuff like that. In the summer, it's 3 weeks at a time for a lecture course. So my estimate is that you're giving yourself 15 hours a week to do that. And if I were you, I would probably divide that up into something that seems more reasonable, like, I don't know, 3 hours, 3 days, 5 sounds hard, or like 3 days a week. Anyway, it's gonna be a lot, and this first hurdle is a lot, so breathe. Okay, so we'll start with orientation. You're just gonna read through this stuff and know that it's here for reference. There's a little orientation and FAQ quiz, and that's gonna cover mostly just like the rules and how the class setup is. This orientation Zoom extra credit, you're here right now, yay! So can you please, down at the bottom of your screen, I think it's right over here, there's a little chat box. So can you please check in, just like write your name or say hello into the chat box, and then I will see that and I'll throw you guys all a little extra credit points. My last orientation with Dance 100, they asked me to please add in a discussion day. So I will have extra credit discussion days. They were saying Friday at noon is when I'm hoping to do them. So I think you probably saw that there's a Zoom meeting on Friday at noon, and my idea is to use that time with you guys to talk about the readings, highlight what I think was important out of the readings that's going to be, you know, on your test later on, but also to have some like real-time discussion. Okay, so 0.1 is still just getting used to the class. And then this section right here, defining dance, categories, dance styles, dance family tree, and this reading, it's really just to give you a gist of sort of how dance in academia is looked at and talked about. So I just wanted to give you sort of an overview. You can totally speed read through this Baines reading. So don't feel like you need to take it to heart and swear it by it. But I do want to point out that in the title of your readings, because we don't have a textbook for this class, whoop, whoop, it's all articles. And so I'm trying to put in the pages that I want you to read into the title so that when you go into the reader, it's sitting right up here. And sometimes the numbers here are not aligned with the page number. So I'm trying to be consistent about that, but apparently I've already not been consistent about it. This one definitely goes like, it starts with page 1 up here, but this is 257, so I'm referring to that. But sometimes I'm usually trying to use the book pages, but apparently I'm not good at it yet. So if there's a question, please let me know. Okay. So, and then your icebreaker discussion is just to share with your colleagues. So as long as you're like having real conversations and having fun in there, that's an easy way to get some points. And then we'll go to the categories next. So right now the plan is that aside from registration, you're going to have a letter category each week to get through. That I'm going to try and break them into 3 parts, but it may or may not happen. So right now you guys have a 2-chunk A for this semester. And to give you a sense of what that's going to look like, this is, I haven't sent it out to you yet because I'm still changing it, but this is my plan for our 6 weeks together. So we're going to start talking about dance. My other class, I started really chronologically, right? Like talking about social dance and how we end up with like, So You Think You Can Dance and Alvin Ailey on a giant stage with 500 people. In this one, I wanted, because it's a humanities class and I really loved these Gen Train classes that I took in community college, I wanted to organize it instead by theme. So instead of like just looking at dances from the 17th and 18th century to start with, we're going to look at dance as community bonding and dance as activism for the first section. And so we will talk about the Middle Passage in slavery and many of the steps that ended up like still being traced all the way through jazz dance and hip hop that you can still see. We're going to do a little bit of history and a bunch of different dances for each of these categories. So next week, we're going to talk about exoticism and how Western Eurocentric culture exoticizes dancing bodies and other bodies that are not necessarily white. or don't appear white. And so next week, you know, because we're jumping right into it, we're talking about Jim Crow and blackface right away. It's going to be rough. Help me to talk about it respectfully with you guys. And then third week, we're doing dance and economic inequality. So we'll talk about how dance has been a way for people to get out of poverty, and how that is both true and this myth that we believe in that is part of why we're so obsessed with capitalism in America. And then the D week, which is our fourth week, we're going to talk about some of the big, huge shows that happened after the civil rights movement, and how choreographers started to become more diverse, and how we started to see more diversity on big, fancy stages, so to speak. Eroticism is going to be mostly about the female body and how women were considered sex workers if they danced at all, whether or not they were. Sometimes they were, sometimes they weren't. But this is going to be one of my favorite sections because it's got lots of my favorite dances in it. So we're going to talk about Fosse, we're going to talk about K-pop, we're going to talk about heels dancing, as well as can-can. So like a bunch of different outrageous fun things. I'm excited about that one. And then we'll close on our last week talking about LGBTQ rights. So I'm hoping that we're going to get to watch all of Kinky Boots. I'm trying to find a way for everybody to watch long form movies. I would love it if we watched like a musical each week, but we'll see. At the moment, I definitely have clips from things for you guys to watch. So there's tons of good things to watch, but I think it would be cool if we could watch like one whole thing every week. We'll see. You can see on here that your final exam questions are like already in here in your midterms. And that's because I'm hoping this semester with this class to do short answer essay exams that we will talk about what's going to be on them the week before. And you'll get a chance. So like the midterm is going to be in week 4. So over here, is that right? Yeah. Over here at the end of week C, we'll talk about what are the questions going to be on the midterm. And obviously I can't proctor the exam. I can't see you guys. So my expectation is that you'll create like a double-sided sheet of paper full of the notes that you want to have with you. And then when you're writing the exam, it's timed. So you don't really have time to go like out into the internet and look stuff up, but you'll have your notes there to work from. That's the goal. So you'll know what's going to be on the exams, the questions, before we get there so that you can prepare. And the same thing is going to be true of the final. There are multiple choice questions as well, and some of those things or similar questions will be in the quizzes. So nothing is about being surprising. It's just the goal is for you to take in a ton of information and to kind of put some ideas together. That's really what I want you guys to get out of this. Okay, so there's the overall plot. Here is your syllabus, which is pretty much, hello. My computer's like, no, too many things at once. Your syllabus is pretty much divided into this first registration week, as well as in a separate document. If you need any help with technological stuff, like if you're having trouble with Wi-Fi or anything like that, like the help desk is really helpful. So even though it's, you know, random people out in the world, they can connect you with district support for technological like devices if you're having trouble with those, and also if you're having trouble logging in or you're like missing a file, all that sort of stuff. Do use help. It's also right here. And then, oh, computer is sleepy. So the grade overall is 50% modules and weekly assignments, and then 25% the midterm and 25% the final exam. And then what I have added into that per my last classes question are these weekend, the end of category Zoom discussions. So it looks like this. There'll be extra credit, and they're not a lot of extra credit, but if you can show up and participate in that dialogue, then I'll throw extra credit and it goes towards the bigger assignments. If people are just really having a hard time with that live Zoom time at Fridays at noon, come and talk to me, because there's some other options. Like I could offer you guys watch the Zoom and have a discussion together option if that's something that you want, but I'm trying not to make any, I'm trying to make it doable. So before I go add in a bunch of extra work for you guys to do, like give me some feedback about that, okay? But this will be the time when hopefully everybody's gotten through at least like a quick review of everything that's on here, and then we'll talk about it together at the end of the week on Friday. And then Zoom discussions, if you can't make it live, or first I should say if you can make it live. So if you can make it live, just like you did right now, sometimes accidents happen. Like if I've made a discussion and deleted it and reassigned it, sometimes the link gets broken. So if you're really like trying to log in and having trouble, use that Zoom on the left to find the ones that are happening right now. Does it work if I'm in this screen? It does. So obviously you guys found your way here, so it was you know what you're doing. But if you miss a Zoom and you want to watch the recording of it, it's on this cloud recording tab. Or I also try to post them unlisted with just the speaker view to this YouTube channel. So if you miss one there, and like maybe, because sometimes they break and they don't upload right, so I try to double up on them. So this is the other place to look, and you can find, like this is the one I did this morning, and you can find it by date. Yeah. So there's just a little rubric down here at the bottom. In any of my assignments, if you see a rubric, that is like the magic secret key to getting a good grade. See, easy. Okay, so I think that covers the big things. This week we're doing community dance. We have a couple of readings. This Alexander New Jim Crow we're going to talk the heck about that, because that is full. It's brilliant. It's about how the way that we've treated both slaves and freedmen in this country affects dancing and our world today. So I think it's going to be a great discussion. This Smith Dancing Revolution doesn't seem to have any. There it is. Okay, so this is a embedded web page actually. So these are you can read this part and skip till there and read till it's written in there in this case. You don't have to read the whole thing. And it's just parts of the introduction that I wanted to talk about. But this is the one that, this article is about how dance is a form of activism. For videos, how about, let's go here. So this is essentially like a lecture page. If we were meeting in person, I would probably be talking you through all of this. So for a lot of these videos, you can usually skim the videos. There will be some times where I'm like, this is amazing, and then you should maybe watch the whole thing. But a lot of these videos, the point is for you to get a sense of what they're like. Watch them enough so that if you watched something else that were similar, you'd be able to tell the difference between them in terms of not just costumes, but the movement. So that's usually what we're going for. And this is a great thing to see right here. Do you see how this video has a link, but it's like grayed out there? Sometimes they just pop up when you click on them like that, and sometimes they don't. Do give it a chance by going directly to YouTube if the link isn't working, because sometimes it's just the embedding that's broken. But if it's really like you go to YouTube and the video's deleted, please drop me an email, because that just happens and I have to replace them all the time. be fun. Sometimes I'm putting in extra reading. If I like put a little parentheses here that says if you want to read more, that's optional. Yeah. So there is sort of a lecture video watch list, and you can kind of scan through those things. So by the time we have a discussion at the end of the week, then I would love it if you've scanned through that stuff, given the reading a first try. It's okay if you read. I'm trying to include things that are challenging articles. So some of them are going to be no problem, and some of them are going to be kind of hard to read. So it's okay for you to get in there and feel frustrated and want to talk about how you're frustrated about this reading was hard and I didn't get it, because that's part of what I want us to get to come together and talk it out. Yeah, don't feel frustrated if something feels challenging. I like to present you with things that are challenging so that we can get through them. Yeah. Okay, so my goal is, for a general idea, did I close that? Just close it. Is that each week you'll have some of those lectures and videos to watch, and 1 to 3 articles to read, and then either a small quiz that's like multiple choice, or sometimes we're going to have Zoom discussions. Like this week we have our ice cream. I almost said ice cream discussion. Would you like an ice cream discussion? I would. So this week we have the icebreaker. This weekly Zoom discussion is what you're doing right now, so I'm going to give you credit for being here. And there's like an orientation quiz. And next week we're going to have the optional Zoom discussion, and I'm going to make a quiz. It's halfway done. Some of you saw it because it was listed in 2 places. That's fine. But I moved it back down because it's got stuff from the second week's readings in it. The other thing about the quizzes is that you can take them more than once. So get through your reading and watch the discussion or participate in this discussion, and then I would do the Zoom or the quiz after that. If you feel like, oh, I just still bombed it, you have another try. So that won't be true of our midterm and our final, but our quizzes, you have a couple tries on them because they're supposed to be learning experiences. So don't freak out if the first time through you're like, what? And I'm sure there's going to be some quiz where you're like, Amber, we did not read about that yet, because it's like part of my process of building this course is to figure out what order we're doing things in. And so feel free to reach out to me and be like, I swear I haven't seen the moonwalk yet. It's okay. We can talk about it. So do you guys have any questions about any of that stuff? How the class works, or?
It was really comprehensive. It covered everything.
Oh, good. I think I'm getting better at it. It's my 3rd time through. Oh, I see there's chats. Hold on. Let me catch up on the chats. There might be questions. Yay! Just hellos. I like hellos. So, what do you guys think, this particular group of you who are here in the evening with me, do you think it's, what's the possibility that you guys can make it on a Friday noon Zoom? Totally out of the question, or maybe, because there's like 35 of you in the class altogether.
Almost likely be able to get it.
Okay, cool. I know it won't work for everyone, but this is not supposed to be a synchronous class, so I figured I'm going to try and get most of you on there if possible. Yay! Sweet. Okay. Do you have any questions about, I don't know, content or using Canvas or just anything at all?
I just wanted to clarify something about the discussions.
Yeah.
I know that we post one initially and then we respond to 2 other classmates.
Yeah.
Are we assigned to 2 other ones, or can we respond to any of them?
That's a great question. For the discussions, oh, I'm still screen sharing. Well, that's handy. So for the discussions here, let's pop into those. The answer is you can respond to anybody you want. And just to give you, right, everything is kind of linear here, but slightly threaded. So if these folks are responding to this initial post, but when I'm grading a discussion, can I show you guys this? When I'm grading a discussion, it's helpful for you guys to know that I only see your posts at one time when I'm grading. So if you're like, hey, Florence, I loved that video, I have no idea when I'm grading what Florence said in the first place, because I won't see it until I get to her grade.
Okay.
If it's really confusing to me, I can pop out and search for it, and sometimes I do that. But that's one of the things why in the discussion I really encourage you guys to describe the dance, is because, well, two reasons. One, because then I can tell what you're talking about, which is cool. And two, because this is sort of a fun fact about me, is for my undergrad, I went to UC Berkeley and did comparative literature, which means that I was reading and writing in French and English and taking Finnish and being a giant language geek. So obviously I am into writing. And so there's a page on here. Let's open it up because I talked about this with the last group. Where is that page? Beep, 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 beep. It's this one. Check yourself. So this is sort of my caveat about writing. I want to make it really clear to everybody that I really care about you guys developing your own voice. And so I do talk about how to talk about dance, because when we can say something beyond, I really love that it flows, or the costumes are so great, or there's such chemistry between those two dancers, when we can talk about dance as a real detailed and purposeful art form, that's how we keep dance going, right? And that's part of the reason why so much dance that was quote unquote just for entertainment got left behind by academic culture for a long time. So it's kind of my little soapbox that I want you guys to be able to talk about dance. And that's a big part of this first week, is like, what is a dance move or step, and how do a series of steps have elements of force or direction or dynamics? And then when you're describing a dance, can you talk about maybe 5 moves or steps together, and each of them with like an adjective or adverb, and that makes a phrase of movement. And when you can describe a phrase of movement, then we can talk about dance even if the person hasn't seen it yet. So that's a big part of like all the extra reading you're doing this week, is to try and wrap your head around that idea. But what I wanted to make clear with this page is that I don't expect you to like the same dance that I do. Like, it's very personal what you like. We might like different things. We might like the same things. We might like them differently for different reasons. And so I just want to make it clear up front that sometimes I'm going to talk to you about how you're writing about dance, and I don't intend for that to mean that I'm in any way trying to shut down your opinion. Like, you can like something that I hate, and I will be so excited if you can explain to me what makes you feel passionate about it. That would be like 100% teacher win for me. So please know that there's a difference between me saying, don't just tell me that it flowed, versus me being like, I don't respect your opinion. Like, I really want to hear your opinion. I want it to feel personal and for you to have a voice to express that. So that's what this whole soapbox page is about. Yeah. So part 2 of your question, you were asking, are we assigned specific people to respond to? In your discussion, no, just go crazy. In those discussions, you can do whichever you like. So where is that? This little icon of the 2 things. So you guys can just play and have real conversation, and like hopefully make some friends, because Lord knows we all need a little more socializing right now. But there are things that you probably read about in the orientation, which are called peer review assignments. And you don't have one this week, but I think it might be what I have you do the week before your midterm and your final, when we're creating our study guides, I think I might make that a peer review assignment, because then you guys can share notes with each other in an above board okay sort of way, right? Yay! Like, take your test alone, but study together. So that is good to be aware that there are, this is the last thing that is important for me to review, that there are 2 dates for every assignment. So right now we've been looking at the modules view, which is the same as the home view. So let's go down here to assignments, because it is a little bit complicated for one reason, which is I think your view defaults to show by date. And that would just be like everything that you have to turn in by date. And next week you'll see that there's like past assignments, current assignments, and upcoming, but right now it's all upcoming. When I'm talking about the course, I'm looking at the show by type page. So it's this toggle right over here. And show by type is helpful. Here, I'm going to close this menu so it's a little easier to see. All right. This is the chunk of your grade part that we were talking about in the grade breakdown, midterm, final exam, weekly stuff. So you can see that here. So you can see where the assignments pile up to. Anything that doesn't have a point score on this page is an extra credit assignment. So that's why there's not a point listed here. I just fixed this afternoon because it was not correct for the last orientation. So I'm like, did I fix it? So one thing I did is the Friday discussions that are optional, they're going to be a little bit of extra points towards your big grades. Yeah. So I stuck those little extra credit things into the midterm and into the final. So the first 3 are down here for extra credit, and the second 3 are going to be in the final. And those will be a little bit of the buffer for your big exam scores. Sound good? So the other thing that's important about this page is due, which is when I'm having the Zoom or when you're supposed to turn something in. It's always great to get things in on time, versus available until. Yeah. So if you turn something in between the due date and the available until date because it's online and asynchronous, you're good. There's no penalty. Yeah. There's one caveat, which is those peer review assignments that you were asking about. You want to get your work in by the due date for sure, because it has to be there for the system to give you a peer to review. So try and do those peer review things early if you can, just to cover your buns. And then on the due date, like at midnight, the next morning, it'll assign you some peer reviews, and you do those between the due date and the available until date. And we don't have any listed here right now because I haven't created them yet, but that's how they work. We go until, what day? We go until the 24th, I think, officially. So we want to, where are you? You want to get all your work in before then, because I don't know if you probably didn't notice that when you saw the scan of my calendar, but like, I'm pregnant. So like, I'm piecing out at the end of this semester. I'm going to do my grading as fast as I can. So those ending available until dates, like I have to take them really seriously, because I'm going to be grading all of your written assignments and like trying to turn in all the grades for this class and for my yoga class. And like, I'm going to peace out and go on maternity leave at the end of that. So like, I won't have very much sympathy. I'm just telling you advance. I love you guys, but like, I need to stop working. So do you have any questions about any of that stuff? Where to find that info, tech support? There's your calendar, which you can toggle what classes are showing, but this should also generally give you an idea of when things are. You can see that there's a whole bunch of extra Zooms in here on this week. So, you know, it's okay. Not everything is plugged in yet. As I said, this is our first time through, so don't look ahead and be like, nothing's due next week, or C and D are due on the same week. That's obviously because I haven't figured it out yet, so feel free to ask me if anything is unclear. Y'all? How about you guys? I'm gonna stop screen sharing. I think that is all the information I can possibly come up with. I don't know if everybody heard in the beginning, but since I will be giving you extra credit for discussions, the way that I'm going to do that is that after I close the meeting, it saves the little chat box over here. And so I'm going to look in the chat box for your names and for your having participated in the discussion. So please just make it a habit when you get here to like check in on the chat box. All of you guys have Zoom names. So that's fine. I will know who you are. Erica, I just see Erica. So I don't know if there's another Erica in the class, but it might be good to throw a last name in there when you check in just in case. Yeah, I think that's everything. Do you guys, I'm gonna unmute y'all. Do you guys have any questions about any of that, or concerns or worries or wishes? Also, if you're like, I really hope that we cover XYZ. I am a huge fan of whatever. I would love to hear anything that you guys would like to do.
I don't have any other questions, but I am really excited for the module later on. Well, all of them really, but especially the ones, I think eroticism and feminism, like those are things I haven't really, I don't know, explored in dance.
Yay! I'm excited about that stuff. Anybody else got any requests or anything? And if not, we can be free into the universe. And hopefully I will see you guys on Friday afternoon. And we'll, you guys can vent a little bit about how there was too much assigned this week, because there is a lot. All good?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
Laura,
you.
and Caitlin, and Florence, and Erica.
I just wanted to clarify something. So for the chat, did you want us to put our full names on there, or like would you?
I don't know if you guys saw Erica for a moment. Like she just had her first name registered with Zoom, which is totally fine.
Oh, okay.
But when I check to take roll for participation in these discussions, I'm gonna look in the chat to see if you guys are there, because it's easier than me looking at the Brady Bunch screen, as I call it. So when you come into a discussion with me, please go over to the chat box and say, hey, this is me, I'm here. And if you saw on the rubric for the Zoom, there's like 5 points for just showing up, and then there'll be another 5 points for you like submitting any sort of a comment. So like a question or anything in there. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes. And if you've never used Zoom before, if you look, I think I'm mirrored, so I think I'm pointing to the right side. If you look down over here, there's like mute and stop video, and the stop video section is, you can put your choose virtual background, or you can choose like a picture. Like for example, if I turn off my video, we have that. Pretty exciting. Does anyone know where that is? Pop quiz.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Let me stop for a split.
Okay. It is the Black Lake, otherwise known as, it's the lake where Hogwarts Castle is in Scotland. So I'm like sitting on the hillside where the little Harry Potter train goes, like right around the right side of that picture, looking out to where Hogwarts should be, because I'm a huge Harry Potter geek. So that one made me pretty happy. I was like, it's there. I'm sure it's just hidden. Fun stuff. Okay, guys. See you on Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Please keep talking to me. I know it's going to be rough, so we're in it together. Awesome.
Bye. Nice meeting you guys.
Bye.
Nice meeting you guys too. Bye.
Bye, guys.